Hello, beautifuls. Hello, beautiful mystic muses. Welcome back to our 15th episode in the MMM sanctuaries. By the way, it's the mystical, the magical, the mundane, the muse, the messy, the mama, the triple M, if you know what that is. So, any of the M's that speak to your soul. That is what the MMM sanctuary is. The mystical, mundane, magical. For me, that's how the words, the name of the sacred sanctuary came to be. Embracing, marrying all of those sacred M's from the mother, the sacred feminine mother wisdom well that lives within each and every one of us. So, welcome to our 15th episode. So, in today's share, I actually want to get a little, um, I want to get a little personal in the sense where I've never shared publicly and I've never spoken to the collective when something in the collective is arising. I believe, as far as I can remember, this is actually the first time where I share in real time, live time, to a big topic that is hot and heavy in our collective. I always tend to speak to the layers, to the shadows, to the secrets, to the things that want to seep through. Very much Scorpio medicine is at the core of my shares and my life, my everyday life. So obviously that's my shares. But today I want to speak about something that literally popped up in my feed, in my YouTube feed. And I watched one video and I think I turned off part of it. And then obviously, the algorithm knows. So it started popping up more and more videos, and I was seeing more and more people sharing their hot take on this hot topic. And I ended up watching this one video of these three beautiful men that they had some sacred masculine fiery shares happening. I've loved hearing. Many of them I've turned off beforehand, and I only saw snippets of the actual reference to the actual podcast in which all of these people are speaking to. And I'm speaking, obviously, if you're hearing this, it's because you are in the consciousness community. You are someone um, who takes serious your own personal growth, your own tender transformations, who understands that going within and remembering at the core of your being, what are your holy transmissions, is your way. So, um, the hot take is on is it's on, and thank you to Audrey Marcus and his wife Vilana. And I believe the other woman's name is Alana. And I'm not 100% certain, but I believe those are their names. So, and I'm saying them correctly. First and foremost, I want to thank them. I want to thank them for sharing for sharing themselves, their own truths, for sharing what they feel is theirs to share. And I just want to take a moment. And obviously, if you want to go watch that podcast or, plug it in the algorithm, Go ahead and do so. But today's share is one that is in honor, in honorance. I don't know if that's even a word, but it's an honorance that may each and every one of us, priestess or priest, right? Priest, the masculine, may we priestess our own permissions, may we priestess in our own sacred power. May we priestess in our own presence now in this moment, and may we priestess our presence. That is what this podcast is all about. It's really not about the other. It's not really about their story. It's really about seeing this mystical truth of we are one. Funny enough, I looked up his astrology, and his sun is in Pisces, I believe, which means that in tropical astrology it'd be Pisces, in sidereal I believe it would be Aquarius. And those signs are signs that are here to break boundaries, to not even break boundaries, to, Pisces is the we are one sign. It's the last sign in the zodiac. And Aquarius is the one about moving the collective forward, sharing these collective transmissions in order to uplift the collective. That's at the essence. I'm talking at the essence of these signs, okay? And what I wanted to share is, may we honor that each and every one of us has different stories, has different takes, has different lifetimes that we've traveled, has different woundings, has different views, has different beliefs, has different desires in this sacred lifetime. And so may we all sit down at the same table, at the round table, not the rectangular table where there's a wider side, right? And there's like the edges, the difference between who sits on the longer side and the shorter side at the head of the table, right? This is not about him heading your way. He is the head of his own way. Don't you love how I love how everything always just goes back to sex and the sacred to the sacred sauce that is at the core of our being alive. Like, we literally were birthed through sex, we were birthed through ecstasy, we were birthed through love. And yes, many, if not most of us, were not conceived from, let's say, parents who were I'm trying to say this because words are spells, words are magic. Let's just sit our parents down at this table too, at this circular table. All right? I'm not even going to say that. We love them, we thank them. We can let go of those things that didn't serve us. But we can sit today at this table together. And so the phrase that came through for me, I was actually working out and I was like, oh, I'm going to speak to this. So that's why I'm speaking. But the phrase that came to me was, Aubrey is activating something in the collective, whether we like it or not, whether we want to, whether we want to confess that we have judgments. Each and every one of us has judgments on each other and has judgments about ourselves. And so may we stop judging each other and each other's actions and each other's beliefs. Because if we're even doing that in the quote unquote healing community, then we're not really speaking to the essence of we are one. So Thank you, Aubrey, for this activation. Thank you, Vilana, for this activation. Thank you, Alana, for this activation that in your own sacred activation, alchemical activation, that you're living at this moment and you're choosing to share forever, however long. You're activating parts and pieces within the whole of your own being and within the whole of the collective. So that to that, I say thank you. When you look outside of yourself and you see somebody else doing something or saying something or living a certain way, notice first and foremost your judgments, our judgments, my judgments. That is our responsibility. It's not our responsibility to live through vicariously through another person. And so remember that that is at the core of war energy, of putting one against the other, of putting, you know, of putting ourselves above another. Um, and yes, in a little while, I'm going to share my hot take. I am. And so in in that, many of us might feel that my hot take is going against them. And what I'm trying to share today with as much grace as I can is that it's really not about if what they did or are doing or are choosing to do or not do is right or wrong from our standpoint. Because another mystical truth is everything is always happening in divine timing and in the service of our highest good. And when we are choosing to live it out that way, then everything is being played out as it needs to and will be played out as it needs to. So I'm going to make a parenthesis for us beautiful mystic mama muses who are listening to this. For those of us who are vegetarian, who are whole food plant-based, who are keto, who are carnivores, who are unschoolers, who are homeschoolers, who are mamas who send their children off to conventional schooling. For those of us who vaccinate, for those of us who don't vaccinate, for those of us who use chemicals in our bodies and who use chemical products in our homes, for those of us who don't. Do you get it? For those of us who use plant medicine, for those of us who don't use plant medicine, for those of us who are choosing polyamory or monogamy or whatever it is, whatever combination you are um, you are using. Notice, notice the either or. And can we just take a couple of breaths? And can we just embrace any shame that we hold within ourselves for any of those words that I mentioned that we hold judgment about ourselves using or not using? May we grant ourselves permission. Remember, that's one of the sacred themes of this podcast, permission. Grant each other permission to live out our lives, to know that each and every one of us are co-creatrixes of our own sacred lives. And so, with that, may we grant grace as we speak the gab, right? When we're holding the gab, and I believe Valana is a Gemini in tropical, and that would be Taurus inside real. And so, we're moving into Cancer. Well, we are in Cancer season in tropical astrology. I know it gets confusing. I know it gets confusing, my dear ones. I'm trying to play with both of them because I'm trying, if you can see, or if you want to hear what I'm trying to see within myself, is embracing even of those, both of those sides. So even within astrology, there are the sidereal people and they are the tropical people. And can we embrace both? Can we embrace where we are in this moment? Can we embrace who we've been? And can we hold space for that, those parts, pieces that are also coming in our future? And so Gemini season speaks as the divine communicator. So in that in that essence, in that special sauce, thanks to Gemini season, can we be our own divine communicators of our stories, of our callings, of our longings, of our fears, of our shadows? All right, beautifuls. Here is my hot take. My hot take obviously has the lens of my own life, of my own learning how to love lessons, learning how to love again myself as an embodied soul in a human body, as an embodied wife choosing her husband, as an embodied mother choosing her children. So I've been around the block. The language, the stories that they shared, they don't scare me because I have a lot of Scorpio in my sign. Inside real astrology, my rising is Scorpio. So I'm here to share about those secrets, to share how dark and how deep we really must traverse over and over again in order to live in Phoenix medicine, which is neither judging the light or the dark, or practicing, or learning, however we want to call it. And so, my hot take, it's going to begin more as a prayer. And my prayer is also an affirmation that I've been living in the last couple of years. Is a prayer. Is an affirmation, an intention that I keep practicing to live as an affirming alchemical activation by me being the activist every day with my words, with my actions, with my thoughts. May I remember, may I remember that I called in this life. May I remember that I called in being in feminine form, that I called in being a woman and embodying a holy woman in this lifetime. May I remember that I called in being a mystic. May I remember that I called in being a wife. I called in seeing one other being that is a male. I called him in. May I remember that I called in this devotion to be dedicated in the daily to our creating in this divine union. May I remember that just like the seeds of the rays warm the earth and literally spawn like the sperm, they literally spring forth, buds of spring from the earth. My body does the same from my one husband. May I remember that I can live in satiation from being wholly me first and foremost, from remembering my wholeness. May I remember that he is my mirror, that he is my match in this lifetime that I choose over and over again. May I remember that in this choosing, my body yearned for children. My body yearned from desiring to know what that love's communion would feel like in birthing sacred children. May I remember that our children were loved. May I remember that my husband, that my man is different than I am. And at the same time, in coming together, we create one unit. Out of the I and the you, we make the we. With our children and with each action and thought and energy transmission that we share. May I remember that it is beautiful. It is ecstatic to be in this body here and now. May I remember that all of those travels, all of those internal, eternal travels that I traversed in my 30s and early 40s, may I remember that those are not only in my past, they seep into my core. They've embodied. May I remember that in the daily washing of the dishes, in the daily getting dressed, in the daily cleaning the floor, in the daily doing my exercise and my prayers, in the daily of connecting with the eyes of my children, in the daily of reminding them to clean up, in the daily mundane muck. May I remember the holy lives there. May I remember that it is enough, that this life is enough. May I remember that me living in this daily divine life, that I am enough, that it is enough. That yes, I will yearn for more, and yes, it is also enough because I am enough in essence. And my prayer for us mystic mothers is to remember there are many mystics. I've spoken before about Santa Teresa de Avila, Saint Teresa de Avila. I've spoken about her and the mystic within the Catholic Church that would have these ecstatic awakenings, not even having to take plant medicine. And this is no shame on plant medicine, but imagine being within the Catholic Church, a church, any religion, and having these ecstatic awakenings because of your love in God. When I speak about God, remember it's AWE for me. That's how I share God, because it is that wild mystery we cannot explain with words. And so my prayer is that may we remember as mothers that we can live it in our bodies. We can live this mystery, magical, mundane life. We can live it in fullness in our bodies. It is wholly beautiful to want children, to want to make love, to know that in making love, and yes, as soon as we're making love or having sex, to know that that sacred act is one that also can create a human being, whether we're choosing to take a pill or whether we're choosing to say no to that. Remember in the tantric belief, in the tantric yes, the yes includes the no. So the yes is yes. Something is going to be birthed from me, from this sacred union. And so I do have this collective prayer for our modern mystic mamas to remember how beautiful it is to live within that sacred union with one man and with one child. And if you have two children, or three children, but that obviously that unit is a wholly beautiful one. And my sun is in Libra. At the core, Libra is here to lead with that love, to remember that at the core, we are all made of love. We all came from love. We all go back to love. And inside real astrology, I am a Scorpio. And when I say I'm a Scorpio, I'm talking about my rising sign. And our rising sign goes hand in hand with our north nodes. And that's where we're moving into in this lifetime. Those are the bread crumbs that we pick up so we can remember our own bounty that is born and reborn within us in each moment. May we also remember that there are many ways to live out your dream, your calling in this lifetime. And if your calling is another one, different than what I just said, I welcome you to this round table, sacred sister. Take a seat. If you don't want to sip from that cup, that is okay. But my call to each and every one of us. And yes, this podcast is for my sister muses. But sister muses, we are that sacred cauldron. We are as the mirror to the earth. We are that receives from light, from the masculine, from our man, from God, from the sun. And so this invocation, this calling out is that may each and every one of us know intimately what our soul yearns to live out in this lifetime. And my soul's calling is not the same as yours or the other sister that's seated next to me or her. But may each and every one of us grant ourselves permission in this lifetime to get to know ourselves so intimately that we know what is right for us. Remember RITE, what is our next rite of passage? A little hot take, thanks to Gwyneth Paltrow and her unconscious coupling. I don't know what her astrology chart says, and I don't care. But she, at the core, was speaking to the sacred feminine Pisces energy of I loved my children. I loved my partner. I was that received in this way. And now I'm choosing to receive in another way. And I'm choosing, it's the true in this lifetime, like as a mundane mystic, it is the true. It's the true testament when you hear and feel someone share their energetic and they're sharing it with love. That is where freedom lies. May all of our children, regardless of like the formula of what the father and the mother looks like in this lifetime. I have my own like wishes and wants and desires that I'm going to hold as mine, like what I believe is, I'm not going to share that. But what I will share is we mystic mothers know when we have made peace with our past, when we've made peace with the patriarchy, when we've made peace with the other parent, where we've made peace with the paternal line, when we've made peace with the presence that father, that our father brought through in this lifetime, all of the presence that they will continue to give our children. Can we be thankful and grateful for those? Can we let go of the shame and the judgment? That's our responsibility. But may we honor that if we're choosing to let love lead the way, may we know that whatever choice we're making, it is for the highest good. And not only it is for the highest good, but that we also pick up our baton like a sprint, right? And you grab the baton and you say, I am in my choosing. And I don't mean like I'm choosing whether I want to have a child or not. That's a whole other conversation, Sister Mama. There's so many layers to that. Ask your soul that one. So many layers. But what I'm saying is that whatever it is that we choose, it is our responsibility of how we show up. It is my responsibility how I choose to show up today as a mother. It is my responsibility how I choose to show up as a wife. It is my responsibility. I can respond to that is my responsibility, that is my rite of passage, that I chose and choose, that my past doesn't dictate my present. What I've done to hurt others closest to me in the past does not have to dictate how I choose to show up in the present. It is never too late to lead with love, regardless of where you're seated at the round table. May each and every one of us, with our own actions today, may we create more union. May we practice as best as we can, right? We're all human, including me, and including anything that seeped through in this own podcast that are from my own shadows. May we all practice leading with love. Amen. Have a beautiful, beautiful day, my beautiful mystic muse. If you are needing support and embracing and welcoming parts of yourself that you have disowned, that you have not welcomed back, that you are ready to reclaim, that you are ready to remember. If you're needing that support, that mirror, that mentor, that mystic mentor to support you in your present rite of passage that you're living, if you're wanting to embrace your soul mandala, each and every one of us, through the sacred systems of astrology and human design and numerology and the archetypes, archetypal medicine, we each have our own soul stamp. And the more we can see it in the mirror and see its beauty and magic and see that that is our stamp, each and every one of us has a unique stamp. So if you're tired of looking at other people's stamps and comparing yourself, if you're tired of living out your life as you used to, as you were living in your own conditioning. We love to blame like our past conditioning, right? But we also have to claim that we were even choosing that. We are not a victim. And so if you're ready to welcome also new soul gifts, a new, ANEW, a new soul gifts. I am here for you. I offer private one-on-one sessions. They're called Soul Speak sessions. You can go on my website, jimenamosquera.com, to schedule a 15-minute complimentary call with me to see if it is the right fit for you. RITE. I'd love to support you, as I love to support, to inspire, to be the cheerleader of my beautiful mystic muses, my beautiful mystic mama muses, who are sharing their magic on this beautiful earth every single day. Bye, beautiful ones.